Hi friends, it's Kayla Brannon. Welcome back to the Let's Get Candid podcast. How's everybody doing today? Happy Thursday. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever day or time it is that you're listening. So happy to be back on the mic with you guys, coming to you live from my bedroom. And I have the dogs with me here today. Finch is on my bed, Sarge is beneath me, and the sun is finally starting to come out after an afternoon thunderstorm, which is really, really nice because this moody weather anyone else just not feel productive when it's raining outside if it's been like that for a few days. I am definitely a water baby, a sun baby. I need sunshine. I need South Florida weather. It's hot, it's humid, but I thrive down here. My hair, not so much, but I feel so much better down here. And when it's rainy and moody, it just reminds me of being stuck in a city with high rise buildings, and it's just not as fun. I like when the sun is out and just it's way more exciting, like lively. I'm like, okay, let's go to the pool, let's go to the beach, let's go to brunch, let's go do this, let's go do that. I'm so much more excited to be out and about. I've also recently started watching Sex and the City again. I'm on season 3, and wow, this show, like, it's so timely sometimes for being from the early 2000s and like late 90s and early 2000s. Sometimes they hit the nail on the head, like things that I find myself talking about with my girlfriends all the time. Other times not so much, and it's kind of cringe. Like right now, I was just watching earlier today the episode where Charlotte goes to get married for the first time, and he sneakily asks her to sign a prenup, and I was just laughing because it's like I get what she means by thinking like we're already talking about divorce, we're not even married yet, but also when Miranda's like, no, lawyer friend here, like you need to have a prenup like, for all your assets. And it's something that my friends and we talk about all day long, especially as female attorneys who are actively dating, looking to meet somebody, and we're worried about those kinds of things and how we bring that up to a partner at one point in the future. So I love getting to see powerful female, supportive female friendships. That to me is what Sex and the City is all about. And I'm just grateful to be developing those relationships in my life at this point. It's something that I've really realized in the last few years and few months is that growing up, I didn't see true, strong female friendships, supportive female friendships often in my life. So I didn't really know that was possible. And I always felt more comfortable being friends with men because I was an ambitious woman. And I'm really grateful that I've never been put down by a man for being ambitious or successful. I haven't always been, felt welcomed in the sense of like dating someone because they're maybe threatened by that. But on a friendship level, men have always embraced and supported my ambitions. But to have that in female friends the last few months and years has been so much more empowering, so much more helpful. I had coffee with a female attorney on Monday. We had so much fun just talking about work, talking about life, relationships, and traveling and families, and she's married with kids. I'm not there yet, but I want to be there one day, and just talking about how she went from, someone in my shoes, a young attorney, single, unmarried, to where she is now, and how you develop that, you go through that transition. And having people in my life that I can ask those questions, that I can go to for that, is really just, it's so nice. It feels really refreshing to have that. And with that, like, mindset, a lot of it comes to the mindset that you have around your own ambitions and goals, what your values are, what your intentions are, what you're looking to achieve in life, and who you want around you, and seeking out relationships with people who also have the same aligned values as you. And that has been increasingly difficult for me in the last 2 years because as I've grown and evolved, so have all of us. And sometimes, I'm growing and evolving at a quicker rate than my friendships are or my friends are. And that can sometimes lead to people coming in and out of your life. And it's been tough. Like, friendship breakups are definitely really hard. But when you find the right kinds of friends and the right colleagues to support you in business and referral networks and things like that, it definitely gets really exciting. Like life gets a lot brighter, kind of how like the sun coming out. I think that's definitely a metaphor for me today. I feel I've just been felt very stagnant and stuck recently. I haven't been inspired to create content while I've been doing my rebrand because I'm waiting for it to go live. And, you know, everything is so trend based and so quick. And that's just not my speed. I'm in a place of, I want to be a lot more intentional. I want to slow down. I want to enjoy where I'm at because I struggle sometimes with looking too much into the future, not enjoying where I am. And social media doesn't work that way. And so I've just felt stuck. Like, is this really for me? Is this really working? Do I want to do this? Is there a better way to grow my business? But then I feel like it's not authentic if I'm not using social media to grow it, because that's who I help and that's who I am at my core. Is I love to network and community and connect with people and support people and engage with people. That is my bread and butter. That is my passion. That is my purpose. That is why I became a lawyer. That has always been my why. So it's been an interesting time lately. And I have friends who recently took the bar exam. I have friends who are starting their 3L years and they're asking me for recommendation letters for certain things. And I'm helping prospective law students apply to law school, helping them with their application documents now that, it's a new application cycle is about to start. And, all of this newness, it just makes me feel excited again. Like something about back to school, getting new school supplies, getting new clothes, that last summer vacation, last weekend trip before, a new semester starts is always so exciting. And obviously I don't have that, but I do have a note in my phone to clean out my closet and donate everything because I want to start fresh. I kind of feel like I'm in between sizes right now, and I'm in between styles, not just seasons, but just how I want to, my personal style and how I want to present myself has definitely evolved a little bit. And so I look into my closet and I don't want to get dressed every day because I don't know what to wear. I just, nothing in there is inspiring to me. So it's back to school season, tax-free discounts, and, back to school sales at all the stores. So it's definitely time to do a little closet clean out again. I did a spring cleaning, but, end of season, donate things that just no longer fit me or feel right. I have a lot of PR that I need to give away to family and friends. So that's a little, also a way to clear like the stagnant energy, I guess. So definitely enjoying that. And fall is coming, which I'm excited about. But it's definitely been an interesting time around here, which is why these next couple of conversations are going to be really, really important. They have been recorded back in like early spring, summer, so like May, June time. And my mindset has come a really long way since they were recorded. And I have evolved a lot since they were recorded because of a lot of the conversations that we were having during this time. So I'm excited to be able to share these with you so you can kind of see where I've been coming from and maybe why, again, I needed that hiatus. And just again, the community of women that I'm surrounding myself with, the quality of women and the thoughts and the conversations that we're willing to have, because these conversations are hard and they're scary. They're vulnerable, but they're so important to be having. And so I'm honored that I get to have this podcast and have this safe space to share these candid conversations with you guys. So buckle up. We're going to get real deep. We're going to get vulnerable. We're going to get candid. But I'm excited for this next series of episodes. And really fast, though, before I introduce Faith to you, sorry if Sarge is growling in the background, are my suck and sweet of the week. So my suck of the week this week is just that feeling of being stuck. And I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I can feel it, but there's still a few things that are out of my control that are keeping me stuck. And unfortunately, a lot of it has to do with financial. Like, it's hard. Life is getting really expensive and Miami is getting really expensive. But I'm getting closer to where I want to be to, make the financial and personal investments that I want to make to level up and enter that next chapter. I'm optimistic about them for the first time in a really long time. And again, having those female mentors look at me and, you know, be proud of me and be proud of where I'm at and what I'm building, and them seeing in me what I'm feeling is really empowering. So I know I'm getting closer, but just that feeling of you're right there, but just a little bit more like that. That's like my suck of the week, just feeling like very stuck and stagnant energy, which is again why I want to do the closet clean out. And I've been working out a lot more. I've been feeling a lot stronger. Even my dad noticed the other day. He's like, "Oh, your back muscles are getting stronger and more defined again. All that yoga that you're doing." And that just feels really good. So I guess that's my sweet of the week, just being recognized for the work that I am doing on myself and in my life has been really nice. I got ClassPass so I can do more Pilates and try out different studios because there's so many new studios nowadays here that I want to try them all out, but it's hard when you are stuck in one membership and you're limited. So I'm excited to have ClassPass, and I've been doing a lot more Pilates, not just reformer, but at home as well on days that maybe it's raining and I don't want to drive very far in nasty weather, or I just don't feel like leaving my house, because that happens sometimes too. And I do live further than most people. I live in the suburbs with my family, so it's nice to be able to do at-home workouts. I'm inspired to do them again because I'm seeing the results in my body, in my mindset, my mental health. So that's been nice. And I think, again, also goes why to time to do closet cleaning. And all of it just kind of is integrated into that. And the most exciting suite of the week is that my law firm's website is launching on Monday, the 19th. I'm so excited for you guys to finally see what I've been working on for months. In March is when I finally made the investment to level up my marketing and my branding and open a website. I had been wanting to do it for a while, and me and my assistants were slowly building it ourselves, but it just wasn't hitting. Like, what we were working on just didn't look like what I wanted it to look like. So I made the leap to invest in myself and my business, and Brandika Studio Victoria has been absolutely incredible, and I cannot wait for you guys to see what we have been working on. And I highly recommend her services. She helped me with my branding guide. You can see it on my law firm's Instagram. We've been implementing all the marketing, the brand photo shoot that I did with my friend Danny, all of the content. It has just leveled up so much. And I have a call with my assistants next week to sit down and plan out a content strategy for the next 4 months. I cannot believe there's only 4 months left of the year, but we're going to go hard on marketing. So you guys see all of the work that we have put in, and I'm just so excited for you guys to see the website. So make sure to follow me on there and check it out on Monday, the 19th. And with that being said, I'm so excited to introduce to you this week's guest, my friend Faith Bergman, and her mindset coaching, Life with Intention. Life with Intention method is something that I am really passionate about because that is exactly where I'm at. You've heard me talk about that for a while now, but slowing down, being a lot more present, being intentional in everything I do. And I came across Faith. She found me on Instagram a couple of months ago, and when we hopped on our call, we had the best conversation. We hit it off, and we couldn't wait to record for you guys. And I'm so excited to finally share this conversation. It's something that I think back on a lot, just a lot of the lessons that her and I have both gone through in our mid-20s and our mindset evolutions and where we're at now, and why it's so important to be intentional in everything you do. And I'm glad that she has developed these programs as coaching to offer that service to people, because it is something that is really hard to do if you don't have the tools to do it. And not everyone knows how to develop those tools on their own. It's really hard to do it on your own and not feel like you are supported in that approach to life. And I definitely can relate to that, because being around people, living with people that's not their approach to life, and what they're doing is working for them, but it's not working for you, and having to, take a step back and figure out, okay, what do I need to change to get where I want to go? Because what I'm doing is not going to get me there, is difficult. And, Faith has been there too. So she really provides an incredible value to your life to support you in you living the life that you want and achieving your goals. And so we talk about how she got here and what this method that she has developed is, and how she helps people with habits, with personal development, and in career, because that is something that, once you start changing your personal life, your career goals might evolve. And that is how I got to the career that I'm at now. I talk about that a lot too. So I'm just really glad that we get to share it. And when I was in New York, you might have seen that her and I got Pilates, we got smoothies together. It was so fun to put a face to the name in person and hang out and actually take that conversation offline and into the real world. And I've since had so many conversations like this with so many of my friends because she gave me the tools in just our 3 conversations to do that. And I think that's what it's about. It's about surrounding yourself with people who think like you and act like you and feel like you, and surrounding yourself with people who get it. And your life slowly starts to evolve from there. And then maybe you won't feel so stuck anymore. And like I said, I feel like I'm right there. I'm so close. So I might end up doing a session or 2 with her as well. And I really hope you check her out. So if you like this episode, please leave a rating and review. Please subscribe to the show, share with a friend, tag us as you're listening. Let me know who you want to see next, what topics you want me to cover next. Let me know if you check out Life with Intention and Faith. And I look forward to chatting with you guys in next week's episode. Meet Faith. Thing that people wouldn't know about you just from following you.
I live with my younger sister in New York. I feel like I don't really talk about that that much.
That's cool. It's cool to meet people who, I live with my family, and so by default live with my brother as an adult, which I feel like a lot of people don't like that and don't want to live with their family once they're older. Especially it's one thing with parents, just siblings, that's interesting. I don't think I really know anyone who chooses to live with their sibling after they don't have to anymore.
Yeah, when I meet a lot of people or I see friends that I haven't seen in a while, or people that I went to overnight camp with or whatever it may be, they're like, oh, I heard that you guys live together. That's so cute, but I could never do that. So I feel like I don't know that many people that have lived with a sibling, because they have chosen to in New York.
That's cool. I mean, it just, how much, what's the age difference between you two?
2 years.
And you're older?
Yeah.
That's cool. You guys are close enough in age where you have probably the same friends, same interests, same hobbies. You're our friends, genuinely friends. But I have a brother and he's 3.5 years. But we're 4 years apart school wise. So up until now as an adult, we could never really have the same friends or do the same things until we were both in college. And then I was in law school when he was in college. So I was gone. And so now he's he's 22 now. I'm now we go out together. Now we can do stuff together. And a lot of our friends are the same, which is so much more fun. But being 2 years apart, makes it a lot easier. So I think it's really cool that you guys live together. It's funny, when my brother went to college in Tampa and I was going to go to law school at one point in Gulfport, which is 45 minutes from Tampa. So they're why don't you guys get a house in St. Pete and you guys both of you basically commute? And my brother and I were we're not willingly living with each other. What do you mean? And then now we do. But yeah, it was funny. But wait, you went to sleepaway camp, overnight camp? I've always wanted to do that. I remember as a kid, I forget the name of the book. There's a really popular book about sleepaway camp. And I begged my parents, and I had friends that were Jewish that went to Camp Waziata. And I remember being Mom, I really want to go. And they're you're not Jewish. You're not going. Also, we can't afford that. But it's so cool. I have so many friends who have done that. And it just looks like such an incredible experience.
Yeah, it was definitely a big part of my life, growing up. So yeah, I really liked it.
I feel it's a formative experience. And you have your childhood friends, and you have your camp friends and your college friends and your work friends and your adult, it's just another layer of people in your life, I think. And I think it allows you that ability to grow up on your own a little bit away from your family and kind of have to figure things out for yourself, which I think is really cool. That and boarding school always were something that I was damn, I wish I would have done that. I treated college and law school I was in boarding school. It was basically you are basically in boarding school. Yeah. But no, that's fun. So I'm always curious, for me, I did a traditional program and I thought I was going to go into traditional career field, and I'm kind of doing something completely untraditional. So when I meet other people doing something similar to that, you were in finance and business for a while and then you left and now you're doing something completely untraditional. What has that been like for you? What drew you into business and finance? And then what was the final straw that you were no, I need to leave this?
Yeah, so when I originally went to college, I went in as a communications major on like the public relations track and kind of always wanted to do something in that space. And I think like growing up, my dad's always been very entrepreneurial and been in the finance space. And that's something that I was kind of always thinking about maybe doing and like adding on to public relations or kind of trying to see if I could merge the two together. And I remember after my fall semester in college, I went to University of Maryland. I was kind of like, I feel like I'm missing something from what I'm doing and like what I'm learning. And so I decided to take the prerequisites in college to apply to the business school. And so that's kind of my initial like thoughts were I was going to do like a dual degree or double major in finance and in PR. And then once I got to the business school, it was PR and comm were in like a different school at Maryland. So it wasn't the easiest to double major. And I also wanted to study abroad. So those were things that were important to me and to graduate on time. So I ended up pursuing finance and marketing and originally thought I was going to kind of blend the two together. And then I think I just honestly was like starting to take a bunch of finance classes and kind of went more of the career path towards going to the career and job fairs for people in finance. And so I ended up my first job out of college was at Deloitte. And that was where like a lot of my colleagues or like friends honestly were going like right after school. And I ended up working there for a year and then was laid off as part of COVID layoffs back in 2020. And I originally thought that like that was kind of what I was going to do before I started it. So like once I started it, that was a completely different story. I just realized that that really wasn't for me. I do work a full-time job in tech, in fintech right now, and that I really like. And I think it's just a lot more like, I think a lot of the finance companies, especially in New York, are very old school and traditional and just kind of all set in their ways. But in the tech space, at least you can be more like entrepreneurial and it's more of like new things and new processes. And I think a lot more people have like a growth mindset, which for me on the side is really important to me and what I do on the side with my clients and kind of trying to like work on both, which like obviously isn't always the easiest balance. Um, but I really like what I'm doing full time and I like being able to do what like actually inspires me and makes me excited like on the side. So right now it's just been doing a mix of both. And I definitely didn't think that if you told me 2.5 years ago I'd be doing this, I wouldn't think that like my life would look like it is right now. So it's definitely changed of like what I think I'm actually going to be doing, but I couldn't be happier with like the combination of what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, there's so much that you said. Like, it's funny because I almost added a journalism minor, but then I would have had to stay an extra year because they were in, it was a different school. Like, usually, like, the communications is like part of the journalism, ad PR, radio, television, and then the
Yeah.
business school is separate. And that's how my school was too. I went to UCF and I was in the legal studies department, like, under like humanities and stuff. And I was like, I always have wanted to do like PR and like radio, or not so much radio, but like journalism, like writing. And I was like, why not add it as my minor? And then I was like, because it's a whole nother program, it was just going to take
Yeah.
me longer. And I was like, I'm already basically done. I only have 9 credits. Like, it just doesn't make sense to stay. But it's cool that you always kind of like, even as a kid, even though the combination of what you're doing is different, you always knew like you wanted to have some sort of hybrid role where you got to tap into both sides of your brain and like two different like skill sets, which I think is really cool that you knew that at such a young age. Because that's something that for me, like, I always remember saying, like, I don't want to be just a lawyer. Like, don't put me in a box. Like, I don't want to be only analytical. Like, I was a dancer my entire life. Like, I have like this creative side to me, and I want to, like, I'm not artsy in any way, shape, or form, but like, I can appreciate art, and like, I want to still have something that like is fulfilling and makes me like excited to go to work every day or show up every day. So
Yeah.
I like that you said like you have that balance of like you like your job, your day job, but you also have this other thing that you enjoy and you're also able to make money off of it. Do you ever think you would go full time on the consulting side, or do you want to continue doing both?
I'm not sure. I feel like over the last couple weeks, I've talked to a lot of people about this. And because I know some people that are like female founders, that some of them that I work with, and then some of them that are just have become like friends, and I've just been able to like chat with them kind of while I'm building what I'm building on the side. And I think it really depends. Like, I really like what I'm doing, but I also feel like sometimes it is nice that it's not like my end all be all. So right now I really like a mix of both, but I also feel like sometimes I'm like, I wish I could be helping more people that I'm helping, and I just couldn't be helping like 20 plus people at a time because I just don't have the time or the bandwidth to support that many people. So I don't know. Right now I'm like definitely happy doing both. So I feel like we'll have to see in the next like couple of years.
I feel like with something like this, like similar to like, and disclaimer, like you're not a therapist and we know that, but
Right.
like very similar to like a therapist or a lawyer or a doctor, like someone who takes other people's problems and information in, like it could be really hard to not take that home with you, or like to put that away at the end of the day and then not apply those things to your life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like it's almost good sometimes to have that balance and like have that other thing going on, because it's not the only thing you're doing. That's something that was really important to me, of like being an entrepreneur and being a lawyer and like mentoring law students and stuff. It's like, at least I have like my fun side of things, which is my
Yeah.
podcast and content creation, because it allows me to utilize that creative side of things that I wouldn't otherwise be doing, but also allows me like to have other things in my life that aren't just other people's shit, because it can get really rough, I think, sometimes. How do you navigate that? Like, let's say like one of your clients comes to you and is having an issue, and you're also maybe going through that issue or have gone through it. How do you kind of remove yourself from what you're coaching them on, and or not take their stuff into like your life when it goes for you at the end of the night, like, okay, now like let me work through the same issue, but for me, because obviously your life is different than theirs. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I think that's something that I've definitely thought about a lot more recently. Like, I definitely am the type of person that I feel like I'm a very feeling person, and I take on a lot of other people's emotions.
My therapist told me that 2 weeks ago, and I was like, wait, my mind just exploded. She was like, the reason you're frustrated is because you take on other people's problems and they're not your problems to solve. And I was like,
yeah,
why am I now just realizing that?
Yeah, it's like the weirdest thing too. And I feel like I don't know, the last couple of years, like I feel like I'll like have a conversation with someone, and then I'll like think about how I'm feeling after, and I'm like, why am I feeling this way when like that's something that they were talking about that's happening in their lives? And suddenly it's like I'm feeling all their emotions. So I think just like finding a balance. And I definitely like have been trying to go back and to like what makes me feel good. So if that's like going for a walk or talking to a friend or journaling or meditating, I definitely have fallen off the wagon a little bit with my meditation. But those kind of things, like definitely that just kind of make me like being able to sit in the present moment and just like think about my own thoughts, feelings, and emotions. So I think like sometimes we'll get like how you said, frustrated or upset or whatever it may be, and just like being able to come back to the present moment and think about like what we're doing and like what we're going through, and just try and realize that those aren't our emotions. And I think something for me, like I definitely have had a lot of like stronger emotions recently as I've been with people that have talked about like issues in their lives. And I think like a couple weeks ago, it was causing me to not really want to like go to bed. Like I was just like up all night thinking about all these things. And I remember telling myself, like, I'm just going to think about 3 things I'm grateful for. And I do this normally in the morning, but sometimes I've had to do it like lately before I go to bed, just to like think about those kind of things again, instead of like focusing my attention 100% on like negative things. Focusing on like a couple of things that I'm grateful for before I try and go to sleep.
Yeah, that's something that I try to do. I did it last night. Like I got home and my aunt was over, and we were like, family stuff, and like we were like having a deeper discussion. And after like I got in bed finally, and I was like, I just needed to like say a little prayer and say like my like something I'm grateful for, because I've also fallen off the wagon with like journaling and meditation this week. I've been so bad about it. But I think it also like it's fair to note that like it ebbs and flows. Like you're not gonna be perfect every week, but like I think not always does it have to be written down. Like it does help for sure to like get it out on paper, but just saying it too, like I'm grateful for having this bed to go to sleep in at night, or like I was telling my parents, like I'm grateful that I get to live at home, like that I'm allowed to, and I have autonomy, even though sometimes you guys drive me crazy. Like I am grateful because I know that not everyone gets that, and like So I said, like, I'm grateful for being able to live at home. Like, thank you for allowing me this, like, you know, not just to them, but like praying too. Like, that's a good tool for you. Like, you mentioned meditation, like that being something that you like use like in your practice yourself. Like, when did you start doing all these wellness tools, like, that made you realize, like, oh, I can teach people this? Like, were you doing this in college? Have you always grown up kind of having this more like spiritual wellness practice? Or did this happen because you were unhappy at work and that you needed to like find something for you? Like, when did your own healing and wellness journey and spiritual journey come about?
Yeah, that's a good question. I definitely was not spiritual growing up. I feel like anytime I had heard something spiritual or like seen something that maybe was like more on the spiritual side, I tended to shy away from it because I like honestly was weirded out at first and I was like, what is this? Also, they're doing drilling now in my apartment. So if you hear that, I'll try and speak a little louder. And then I think when I was in my last job in finance, I remember getting one of the 5-minute journals because I had been just like so negative every single day going to this job because I was talked to poorly. I did not feel comfortable asking questions. I worked long hours and I just did not like the environment. So I thought that like if I could try and start my day on the right foot, at least that way I'd be positive going into the day. So I remember having that 5-minute journal. That was probably about probably 2.5, 3 years ago at this point, and starting off using that. And I think that's when I started to do some forms of like meditation and journaling. And then I like also used to be like 75 pounds heavier than I am right now. And I think I put into place over probably the last 5 to 6 years, like a lot of really good habits that have gotten me to the place where I am now. So that's things like working out. I probably work out 5 to 6 times a week in some kind of capacity, whether that's like strength training or Pilates or walking. I love walking. Like eating healthier, going to bed earlier, removing people from my life that I don't think are positive or serve me any purpose. So I think there's just like a combination of different things that have probably accumulated over the last 3 to 5 years, I would say.
Yeah. I feel like, I don't know if it was COVID or not, but I think a lot of us, all of the same things that you just said, that's when I started kind of doing it too, 2 to 3 years ago, maybe 4.
Yeah.
You know, I really started being more intentional with the diet, like my diet, not just like what I'm eating, but what I'm consuming, who I'm surrounding myself with,
Yeah.
where my energy is going, and like who is giving me energy. I'm a very big energy person. I don't know if you know your human design, but it's funny, when I finally learned what that was and I like did the whole reading of it, I was like, all of these things I have had to learn the absolute hardest way possible because
Yeah.
I'm that person that needs to go through it my way. Like, you could tell me, but like I still have to go through it myself. And then I'm gonna be like, oh, Faith was right. Like, damn it, I should have just listened to her. But no, I need to go through it. So
Yeah,
it's
I
funny,
get that.
like I go through all of these things and like I discover human design maybe 2 years ago. And I was like, wait, like I've always said growing up, I'm a vibes person. Like, I get a vibe from people. Like, I can't say if like you're good or bad, but I can get like a sense of like something's off. Like, I need more time, but like I'm gonna be weary of that person.
Yeah.
And like my energy type as my human design is I'm a manifesting generator. So I'm both a manifester and a generator. I generate from other people's energies. That's why I pick up on it. But I also manifest my own energy and inspiration into the world. And my profile is the serial life experimenter. I'm literally meant to be a serial entrepreneur. No wonder law school was miserable for me. I was not happy just doing the same thing everyone else was doing because that wasn't my path.
Yeah.
And it's just all these things I learned about myself. And so in order to get really clear on who I was and why I was doing the things I was doing and why I liked certain things, why I didn't like certain things, I started going a lot more inward and journaling. And I wouldn't call it journaling and manifesting at that time. The manifesting did start happening a little bit later, but more so just like really sitting with my thoughts and just allowing myself to have a quote unquote bad day, to feel it and to cry and to get it out of my system. It would drain me emotionally, but the next day I would feel so much lighter that I was like, okay, I finally worked through it. And I felt like every week I would have like another, I called them realizations. And I was like, I think I'm just going through a quarter life crisis a couple of years early because like this shit's exhausting.
Wait, that's
but
really
it
weird
was
that you're saying that because I literally said that exactly word for word to someone yesterday that I feel like I went through a quarter life crisis early.
I know my quarter life crisis was from like 23 to like 25. And then
Yeah, I think mine was too.
now that I'm like 20, 26, going on 27, I'm like, I'm not gonna say that I'm not still going through it, because there's definitely like some days where I'm like, okay, like this is definitely still like a repercussion of that, like the smaller earthquakes that happen after the main one.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I think I've gone through it all. I'm like, all right, we're good. Like I'm done for the quarter. Like talk to me in 25 years, but like, can I enjoy where I'm at right now? Like we're good for a hot second. But yeah, using those tools like working out, yoga has like, it became something that was really important to me in law school. And then I stopped it for the bar exam. And last summer I was like, no, like I need to get back into working out.
Yeah.
And now like I went to Pilates yesterday. I could barely walk this morning. I am so sore, but it feels so good to like be in my body and turn my brain off and like actually like focus. And then also you see the definition, you see the results, you feel good.
Yeah.
Like I'm going on a boat after this like sunset cruise. Like I can't wait to put on a bathing suit because I actually like my body now, which is something that I couldn't say before. And I want to talk about that with you as well. But it's just like all these little tools added up. But I think it's kind of cool when like for you, like, and for me as well, like it happened, like we were in the shit and like we forged who we are now in the fire. And it's so much more powerful that way. And that we get to use all the lessons we've learned and help others. Like going through all this yourself, like you're working out, you're getting your life right, you're meditating, you're doing all these things. When do you start actually doing this like for other people? Is it friends coming to you and you're like, okay, I'm giving a lot of advice, I should start charging for this? Or did someone tell you to do it? Or how did you know to like, okay, let me make a business out of this?
I feel it was like probably about 2 years ago I had started thinking about this. And I feel like I met a bunch of people that went through their own kind of like coaching programs, and I ended up deciding to sign up for one. I just kind of felt like called to it. I had spoken to probably 5 to 10 different people that were running these programs, and a lot of them felt like very sleazy and just like not kind of like, I feel like honestly the energy just felt really weird. And then I happened to meet this one woman, and she ran like a coaching program for only women, and everyone was kind of doing their own thing. And there were people that were they wanted to create a business that was like coaching first time mothers, or coaching people that wanted to lose weight, or coaching people for like busy moms that needed to take care of themselves and like didn't know how. So people just kind of came into this like with all sorts of different ideas, and I originally had no idea like what I was doing. And I realized that like something for me that made a huge difference in my life was like mindset shifts. And it's something that like a lot of times I'll speak to like my parents on the phone, and sometimes they'll be negative. And my dad now, like if I say something and I'm having a bad day, he'll say, oh, but you told me to do XYZ, so like you should listen to that. And I've seen him become so much more positive. And like, I don't know, if he had a stressful day at work, I feel like he would be running a list of like 10 things that just went wrong. So now he's like able to shift a lot of those things into more positive thoughts and create like more positive experiences for himself. But these are things that like I didn't think were possible, because I always thought like he was just always negative and I would be negative. And I think kind of being able to see that really come to fruition, and like realize that there are a lot of people that are like me, especially in the New York City space, and just people in general, like in the US and in the world. My first client was actually from Brazil and found me in a group chat. And I just like really realized that like how many people, even if they've seen that they have their lives together, like do really need someone to help them. So that's kind of how like I first got started.
I like what you said about with your dad, like especially because again, having that conversation yesterday with my parents, there were times where I'm like, the reason that I have these patterns that you're calling me out on are because you established those patterns. Like you have them too. Like I am literally a byproduct of you.
Yeah.
Like I learned from you by observing, or because that's what you always told me. So I internalized that, and like I'm actively working on changing things, and like I need you now to want to do it. And so for me, presenting them, it's twofold. It's like me presenting them the tools that have worked for me and educating them on the tools, and then seeing them do it for themselves and at work. But also like setting the example, but also me being willing to go and do the work on myself to find those tools. Because, you know, it starts at the top. Like, it starts from us. Like, we get to be the ones, like, we're the generation that's really the catalyst for change here. Yeah. And we get to set ourselves up for the future generations. We also get to go to our parents and our grandparents and be like, I understand this is the way you've done things before, but like, this is how it's affecting me. Mm-hmm. And like, I don't want this to continue to affect me and in turn you, like both of us. Like, let's fix this together. Let's nip it in the bud now. And I think the fact that your dad was even receptive of it, and like probably not right away, and it took some time, but that he was like, oh, like, yeah, like I can, you know, I don't have to be so negative all the time. I can think of like the good things that happen today, even if this stuff happens. And that's something that I've been seeing. Like, I'm like, I joke with my parents, like, you're getting soft on me. Like, and I would always be like, they're so mean, they're so this, they're so that. And then now I'm like, why are you being nice to me? And it's like, that's me, my pattern of expecting the worst and being shocked. Yeah. And it's like, you've been asking for this for so long. Why not be grateful and be and happy that they took your advice, or for some reason they decided one day to change it. Like, that's a good thing. Like, that's a win. That's what you've been asking for. And I think it's like continuously doing the work on yourself and looking at yourself and recognizing, like, it's not going to happen when you want it or how you want it, but over time it does happen, and being receptive to change and what's out there and trying something new. But I want to touch on like the weight loss thing that you mentioned. At least for me, like, I've been working on, my issue wasn't weight loss. It was more so just like health, like how I felt, like bloating and like feeling like I didn't like my body. It's funny, like, I actually like myself more. I still do like myself better naked than in clothes, which is usually the opposite. Yeah. But like, because the way clothes fit, sometimes I'm like, or one day a pair of jeans will fit me great, and the next day it's like super tight or super baggy. And I'm like, literally, what changed in 24 hours? I don't, it's bloating and like hormones, and just like something happened. So that's why I was like, some days I just like myself better naked. I look better like without the jeans like bulging in like weird places. But for me, like, I think the mindset shifts and like liking who I really am at my core. Like, in order to love yourself, you have to like yourself despite all of the flaws. Yeah. And really getting to the core of who I am and realizing, like, I have all these good things, even if these bad things happen to me, or I did these things and I learned from these mistakes and like whatever. That shift in my own head helped me love my body so much more. And now, like, the actual working out aspect is just an extra step. It just allows me to like it even more. It's nourishing my body, treating my body well. And I get excited. Like, I dread Pilates because I know it's going to hurt, but afterwards I feel so much better about myself. I'm curious, like, for you, do you think that the transformation physically had a lot to do with it mentally? And like, what are some ways that for someone who is kind of struggling with that, I think, you know, after college, like, the metabolism slows down, the alcohol hits, like, you're partying, you're sitting in a chair for 8-10 hours a day and not moving as much as you used to. Like, all these lifestyle changes kind of take a hit all at once, so that you were able to make these shifts. Like, do you think the mindset had a lot to do with it too?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think the mindset stuff has a lot to do with it. I feel like this comes up a lot with most of my clients, if not all. But one thing that I notice is that a lot of people say things to themselves like, I should be doing XYZ. And so something that I always say is like, get rid of the word should as much as you can. And I think a lot of times, like, maybe it's what you see on social media, maybe it's what your friends are doing, or I don't know. I've had friends that have made comments about things that they're dealing with themselves and saying, oh, like, I don't want to do XYZ, but I should do this like crazy run and then this crazy workout and all these things. And like, that's on them. Like, I think that's kind of also picking up on like our friends and other people and like what they're doing. Yeah. And I'll have like clients say to me, oh, like, I should work out, but I don't want to, or I shouldn't have eaten XYZ. And I think, like, if you remove that kind of phrase from your life, it makes it so much better. So, like, for me, if I'm saying, oh, like, I would like to work out, or it would be great to get a workout in, that to me is better than saying, oh, I should work out, because I think putting in that kind of phrase makes you feel badly at the end of the day, no matter what it is.
It's pressure. It's expectations. I always try to... It's funny, my mom kept saying should last night, and I was like, stop saying that. Yeah. to your point. But for me, it's like, I don't want to, or I don't have to. I get to. I get to do this. Like, when I have so many meetings tomorrow, like, okay, I allowed that. Like, I get to have these meetings. People want to work with me. That's cool. But I also, like I told you, blocked out my calendar because I can't keep taking on more right now. But I had to recognize like what my limit was. Right. Yeah, you don't have to do anything. You get to do these things.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, I obviously still once in a while, like will find myself saying, oh, I should do X, Y, Z. And then I'm just like, no, I would like to, or I get to, or I want to, like kind of reframing it. And like, I don't know. I mean, there's so many people, like people that I personally know and people that just exist in the world that aren't able to do a lot of the things that I can do. Like some people can't get out of bed in the morning. So like if I am excited about going to a workout, sometimes maybe last minute I'm like, oh, like I can't believe I booked this workout. I don't want to go. But part of me knew that there was a reason that I wanted to go. And I'm grateful that I can be able to wake up early and go to a workout when like some people may not be able to move their bodies at all.
Yeah. No, that's huge. I think to your point of like so many people, if not all of your clients, like make those comments or your friends and stuff, it's like society wants us to not like ourselves because they make money off of it and it perpetuates the societal narratives. But it's like more radical, honestly, to like yourself despite everything and to get to do these things and be excited about these things that maybe other people wouldn't want to do, because you're right, not everyone gets to do these things, not everyone has the option, and we do. So why not make the most of it? And if you don't like something, then don't do it. Like it's we're the captain of our own ship. Like we get to be the ones to decide what we do with our time. Yeah, that's definitely been something like I tell a lot of, like, I wonder, like, I'm curious, like, what do you see as a coach like, is the most common issue or situation that you address with your clients? Because for me, especially coaching law students, it's like, why do you want to go to law school? What are your goals? Like, are you doing this for other people or are you doing this for you? So I'm curious. Like,
I mean, I think
yourself talking about.
A lot of times some of my clients will come to me being like, I'm so overwhelmed. I go on social media and like I'm trying to live a healthier life, and they see these people doing like 30 different things and trying all these new products. And I think people get super overwhelmed seeing what everyone else is doing, that they don't even know like how to take care of themselves in a way that will be good for them. So something that I always talk about is like adding in smaller sustainable things that work for them and that they actually enjoy, rather than going on social media and seeing like the latest greens powder or the latest supplement or whatever it is that like they think they need to buy or they think they need to do something because everyone else seems to be doing it, when like a lot of times these people aren't even paying for the product or they probably don't even use it. And I think just like being able to see what works for them and then kind of take it from there. And I never recommend that someone would start, like if you're starting from like baseline and you've never worked out, you've never meditated, you've never journaled, I would never recommend for someone to add in all those things at one time, because that person is never going to be consistent with any of those things if they throw all these things into the fire at once.
Yeah, it's baby steps. Like I think that's the other thing too, is like there's so much self-help and like personal development stuff now, and it's like do all these things and have all these routines and like take what works for you, leave what doesn't. These are tools. You don't have to do everything. Try it out. See how you like it. See if it works for you. You don't have to do it just because it works for me. And that's why I like having all these various different conversations, because it's like we all did different things like, to get to where we are. And it's like, I want you to make your own. That's my goal, is that whoever's listening takes something from the conversation, is like, oh, I'm going to try that. Yeah. You don't have to like, I have to do that to get to, I want to lose 75 pounds too, so I'm going to do exactly what Faith did. No, like that, what works for you isn't going to work for me. Like that, and that's okay. And I think, again, society like makes it seem like you have to follow all like these successful blueprints. And it's like, there's the reason that there's multiple. Everybody's different.
Everyone's different. And I think everyone needs to find like what works for them and what they like. So like, I don't know, this time last year I was doing like a strength training program, and I loved it. And then towards the end of the year, I started really not liking it because I was lifting like super heavy weights at 5 a.m. in the morning before I went to work for the day. And I just like got to a point where I was like, I'm only doing this because I think I should be doing this, and because I think that I had liked it, and maybe like me forcing myself to do it will make me feel good. And then I got to a point where
You
I was
can't
like,
hate yourself into liking yourself. You can't
yeah,
hate.
exactly. And
You
I
have to
just
hate
fully,
something into liking it. Yeah.
yeah, I fully just stopped doing it cold turkey because I was like, I don't like this. I don't know why I'm forcing myself to do this every day. And I haven't done it since then. And I've just like found other movement that works better for me and that like I get excited to jump out of bed in the morning to do. But I don't know. I think it's just like finding what works for you, and different things work also for you at different periods in your life. So, like,
Yes.
if you really like doing something, it doesn't mean that you have to do it forever. And if you don't like doing something, like I used to hate yoga. I hated it. I thought it was
Yeah.
like so slow and boring and
Same. Same.
yeah. And now I like actually really like it. I don't go every day, but I try and go like once a week if I can. And it's something that I do really like now. But I don't know. I feel like people need to find what works for them and also realize that there's different seasons of life for all sorts of things, whether that's like friends and jobs and relationships and all sorts of things. So I think just like really finding like what works for you now and knowing that we're ever evolving and can change.
Couldn't have said it better. Yeah, I think we get so rigid with ourselves. Like I find myself sometimes like being very rigid because I am a control freak.
Yeah.
And I have this fear of, it's not so much that I'm a control freak, I have a fear of losing control.
Okay.
So I don't need to be controlled, but I don't want to not have control. It's like weird. And so that's something I'm really working on. But I'll find myself sometimes being very rigid because it's like, this has worked for me before, but I'm like, okay, maybe it doesn't feel right anymore. That's okay. And like, yeah, we're too afraid to change it because it has worked for us before. Like strength training for you, like yoga for me. Like I was like, our perfect example, yesterday I went to coffee with a girl who owns like the 3 different Pure Bars here in Miami. And
Okay.
I've never been to a Pure Bar class because I took one in college and I hated it because as a former dancer, I was like, this is like janky. Like this is stupid.
Yeah.
So I've never done it. And she's like, okay, you have to come with me like one class. Like it's gonna, I promise you, like it's different. And I was like, a year ago I'd have been like, no, absolutely not. I know I don't like it. I'm like, I got into Pilates and I hate sweating. I hated working out, but I enjoy it now.
Yeah.
And like I used to think yoga was boring and slow because I could never actually relax. And trust me, most days I still can't actually relax. But I feel much better about it leaving the class than I did walking in. So like I know it's working.
Yeah.
So why not try something new? And I was like, yeah, let's do something next week or like the following. Let me know what your schedule is. Like I'm waiting for her to like DM me back. Like, you know, it's okay to change your mind. And that's with anything. Like dating, relationships, jobs, like people in your life, like whatever it is. It goes back to what we said earlier, mindset shift. And that your mindset can change and we're always evolving. I had a whole like video about this on TikTok a couple weeks ago. Like there's nothing I hate more than when someone writes, especially a girl, gets engaged or gets married, it's like, my other half, or he completes me. No, you are a whole damn person.
Yeah.
No one completes you. You are whole as it is. You're actually not complete, but not because you're looking for someone to complete you, but because you're never done working on yourself. Like it would be really boring if we were just at a certain age, we stopped growing. Like that's no fun. So you are whole, but you're not complete. And so like it's like it's okay to continue to change your mind.
Yeah, I think it is interesting though, and I'm curious with like some of these people that post stuff like that, but not everyone like actually wants to work on themselves and better themselves.
Yeah.
So that's always something that I have to remind myself too. Like I might be in a growth mindset or like in this period of growing, but maybe my friend or like whoever else it is does not also feel the same way.
That's something I've struggled with lately.
It's hard
like,
because like
friends or people in my life not wanting to change. It's like, okay, then that's just, and that doesn't mean you can't be friends with them anymore. It just means that they're not the main people you go to for everything.
Yeah.
Like they're just
like,
periphery friends.
They might not be your friend for this new wellness thing or whatever it may be, but that doesn't mean you can't be friends with them. But it is just important to like acknowledge and be aware of that, because maybe you want to better yourself and like do new things, but other people might either they don't want to do it, or maybe they think like weird of you because you're like trying to better yourself and do things. Yeah. And I think it's like a lot of times people are just on their own like paths of awareness and of growing. And I think sometimes it comes off as like your friend doesn't support you, or like your friend doesn't want to do what you're doing, but like maybe they're just not as aware of where they currently are now.
Yeah. That's definitely something that I like. And the thing is with that, it's like, it's okay if all that matters is that you are willing to do the work. We don't have to be on the same path. We don't have to do the exact same things, but that we are continuously growing. Because I think the minute you stop growing, that's when you have to be honest with yourself and with that person and be like, I just don't really think this is working out anymore. And like, that's why relationships end. That's why friendships end. That's why, and a lot of times like people, it's like, oh my God, you guys broke up. Like, it's like, what happened? Like, and it's like, nothing happened. It's just, you're no longer growing. And that's why it's really hard to, date from someone you were 15 to be 35, like 20 years. Those are the most formative 20 years of your life. Like, props if you're still together at that age. That's hard. Like my parents are, and I'm just like, oh, how the hell you guys did that?
Oh my God.
Like I did it. If I had been married to anybody that I was dating in the last 10 years, I'd be divorced or
same.
But that's okay. And like, yeah, I have friends right now that it's just, you recognize that they're not on the same growth journey as you, or even if they are growing, that they're not growing in the right direction. It's like that Haley Steinfeld song, which is like a diss of Niall Horan from One Direction, but like wrong direction. It's like, it's okay to be growing in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it's wrong. It's just they're not the right person for you right now. But doesn't mean you can't be friends with them ever. And like, I have had a lot of friends who fade and then years later magically like we're close again. And
I've had that
changed.
too.
It wasn't really that magical. It was just all of a sudden one of us reached out again. It's like, oh, like let's go to lunch. And we realized like, why did we stop being friends? And it's just because in that moment in time, like it just wasn't right. Like you have to just be okay with that sometimes. And it sucks. It really does suck. But I want to go back to like the fintech thing for a second. For anyone who, because I feel like Deloitte, like the Big Four, is like a very popular like career path outside of college. And you're making all this money and it seems so exciting and all this stuff. And then you get there and you realize like, oh, actually like, this shit sucks. Did you ever like consider completely like quitting that and going somewhere else? Like, how did the fintech role come about?
Yeah, I mean, I think I wanted to do that at one point, but I was like, this is my first job out of college. Like, I feel like I need to give it time. And that was also before COVID. So, like, there was no working from home or sick days, or like you weren't able to work from home if you were sick. Like, you either were working in the office or you were homesick or on vacation. There was like no gray area, which there obviously is now. And there wasn't really an option for me to just be like, oh, I'm going to quit and figure it out without having something else lined up. But I don't think like the tech space really was apparent to me until probably 2 or 3 years ago. And like even what I know now versus what I knew when I was applying for my full-time role, I had no idea of like so many things that existed. So I think when I had been looking for a new job, I actually searched this website is called Built In, I believe, and they had a list of like the top companies in New York City for company culture, and that was really what I was targeting.
That's huge.
And the company that I work for was on that list, and that's like the only reason I applied.
I think it's huge, like that you had the foresight to be like, what is, not only do I maybe not like the work or the people or whatever it was at Deloitte, but it's like the company culture makes a difference. I have friends who are in big law and they're like, I hate the work, but I love the people, so I stay.
Yeah.
It's like, that's huge. Like it's, as long as you like who you work with, like it's either one, a lot of times you can't get both, unfortunately. Like you either love the work, hate the people, but you love the work, so you stay because you enjoy what you do, even if you have to deal with shitty people. Or the opposite, like in this case, one of my friends, he hates the work, but loves the people. Because and I get why. Like I did something similar to him, like my first job out of law school, and like all of clerking, like it's just very monotonous. It's like the same thing day in and day out. It's boring. You don't challenge yourself. But he loves his coworkers and his partners and stuff, so he's willing to show up every day for it. And I think the fact that you knew, like, okay, I don't have to necessarily like the work that I'm doing, but if the company culture is good, I don't mind walking into work every day. Like that's something I think more people need to talk about, especially like coming out of college. Like, don't just go for the high paying job, or I would tell this to law students, like, don't go for the school that gave you the most money necessarily. Like, yes, that's important, but look at all the scholarships you have. Now narrow it down to just those 4 or 5 schools which one has the best culture at that school that you actually can see yourself in, that you are going to want to hang out with these people on nights and weekends, because that is who you hang out with on nights and weekends in law school. Like, you're going to hang out with people. That's your dating pool. Everyone's going to date each other.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of drama. Do you want to hang out with people?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard though. Like I think for me, like when I was in college, everyone wanted to work at the big 4 companies, or they wanted to work at one of the top banks. And like, I think now I probably know a very small group of people that still work either at these big 4 firms or at any of these investment banks, because it's just not the company culture they wanted. It looks good on your resume and you get paid a lot of money. But I think something that a friend of mine had once told me, that she had like a really deep conversation with her brother because she was really unhappy working in finance as well. And he basically said something to her the extent of like, you will find another job and it can be in a different industry. And at the end of the day, you're going to make money, and you can always make more money in a different industry. You don't have to go somewhere just because you think you're going to get the highest salary, because those are often the places for a lot of people that care about their well-being and care about what they're doing and care about their work-life balance and relationships and all of those things, they don't get. And I think like I probably chose going into the career path that I did because I thought it looked really good and it was going to pay a lot of money.
Most of us do. Most of us. And it's also, if you're 21, 22, it's okay to choose that like at the beginning. But the minute that you start recognizing that that is no longer fulfilling you or making you happy, or it's not going to get you to your end goal, like at 21, 22, we do not know our goals in life. We do not know who we really are. But once you start getting clarity on that, and I promise it happens like 23, 24, is when you need to be honest with yourself of like, is this going to get me where I want to be? We're no longer in the day and age where we work at the same company for 25, 30 years before retirement. You're allowed to move around. Just because you got the prestigious job doesn't mean you have to stay there. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to move around. You're going to take those transferable skills and it's going to do you so much better wherever you go next. So I think it's important to recognize, like, I love that your friend, like her brother said that. It's like, don't just go for the money, basically.
Yeah.
Like, is that your goal in life? Like, and that's the same exercise I did. I think I told you this last time we spoke. And I talk about it all the time. Like at 23, I asked myself, like, who do I want to be at 33? In 10 years, who do I want to be? What do I want my life to look and feel like? Is being a lawyer going to get me there? Yes. How? Okay, let me reverse engineer my life. Figure out what the end goal is. And also keep in mind that it's going to change, because people come in and out of, shit happens. Life doesn't stop. But so be flexible, but have a goal in mind and have a goalpost that you're working towards. And you know, check it. Like if some opportunity comes in, like you check it against that goalpost. Okay, no, it doesn't really feel right. All right, do something else. And I think more people need to talk about that. And so I'm glad you mentioned it. And that's why I wanted to ask you, because I feel like most people just get so disillusioned so early on and they just quit everything. And it's like, no, there was a lot more you could have done. You just didn't. You were so rigid with yourself. You weren't willing to look a little bit outside the box. So I'm glad that you were. And it goes to, again, that mindset shift. So I'm curious, like, what are some of the like biggest mindset shifts you think you've had in the last like 3 to 4 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was gonna say this even before you just asked that question, but like it goes back to, what do you define success as too? And I think I remember interviewing for one of the top banks in New York, and they asked me, like, if you get this role, what would success look like to you? And I think at the time I was like, getting promoted at this company and making a lot of money and like having a family, I think are probably like 3 things that I would have said. I don't remember exactly, but I vividly remember sitting there with the interviewers and being asked that question. And I think personally, like my version of success is not that anymore. Like I think to be successful for me now, it's like being able to help people and like have a positive impact and have friends or clients or whoever it is like tell me, oh, I love what you're doing, and like I wouldn't have been able to do XYZ without you. Like being able to hear that is so fulfilling.
I love that it changed, and I love that you're open about that it changing. Like again, like it's okay for the goalpost to change. Yeah. But the fact that you just need to have a goalpost. You need to have something to be working towards, because otherwise you're just running like run, Forrest, run. When is enough is enough.
Right.
And I think it's important to recognize that, yeah, success has a different definition to everybody. And for me, my why has always been to help people, but how I'm helping people has changed. And for me, again, at 23, I was like, being a lawyer is still part of the plan because it allows me to help people. It opens more doors for me, but I don't want to be just a lawyer, and I don't have to be just a lawyer like everybody else here. And if that's what they're happy with, if they're okay with that, cool, but that's not me. So I'm going to find a way that is going to allow me to do more, which is what you did. You're like, I want to tap more into this. Like, that's my definition of success. So how can I also do that in addition to this job? So I love that you were willing to change your mind and be open about it. And I think that's such a great mindset to have, but also a mindset shift. Any other ones that you really like attribute where you're at now to?
I think also like something else that I would say is like not being afraid to try something. Like I think for the longest time, and like I know a lot of people that are like this, they want to start something or they want to do something and they're trying to fixate on like how to make the most perfect thing before they do it. And when I first started this, like someone just told me, she's like a friend of mine, she was like, everything you want is on the other side of Cringe Mountain. And I was like so uncomfortable with like posting a video of myself or like really sharing anything. And I just kind of like did it and got over it. And I think a lot of times, I guess this is twofold. Like one, you have to start something before you're ready. So I think a lot of people just like, they're like, oh, I'm going to do X, Y, Z when this happens.
They're too afraid to start.
They're too afraid.
I had this conversation this week with someone, actually. It's funny.
Yeah, it's just like, it drives me crazy because I'm like, you're waiting until either the time is right or like you have this perfect plan, which things are going to change. So there's never going to be a perfect plan. And I think also just like asking, like I used to be really afraid of like putting myself out there and just like asking like, oh, can I work on this? Or like, can we partner together on this? Or just like saying like, oh, I do this. And I think the worst that happens is someone says like, no, or not right now. And I think a lot of times people are just like so hesitant to ask. Yeah. So those I would say are probably my top couple things.
No, that one's huge. Like I always say, like done is better than perfect. Launch fast and then adjust. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to adjust. But also like a no is not a no. A no is a not yet, or maybe not this way. Like maybe there's something out there better for you. And if you were to put all your time and energy and all your eggs in that basket, you are never going to pursue the thing that's actually meant to be pursued. Right. So like Jamie Kern Lima's book, Worthy, I think I might have told you about this.
Yeah, you did.
She says, hold on, I have it literally like right here because I'm working on a LinkedIn post about this. Funny that we're talking about this. She says, you weren't rejected. I hid your value from them because they're not assigned to your destiny.
Oh, wow. I like that.
And that quote, like my friend texted me that because I told her to listen to the book and she started listening and then she sent me that. I hadn't even gotten there yet. And I was like, oh, wait, like, holy shit. And it's true. Like, it's not a rejection. It's a redirection.
Yeah.
Like you have to frame, like the only failure is not trying or not trying again, not picking yourself up and trying something new. The only failure is not going for it.
Yeah.
If you stay stagnant, if you're not willing to change, if you're not willing to be adaptable and be willing and open your mind, because no one wants someone who's still stuck in the past.
Yeah.
100%. And I could go off on a whole tangent about that, but based on current events, but I will refrain. But no, I think it's huge. And I love that, like you said, like that's your definition of success is helping people get to where they want, what their goals are, define their goals and help them achieve them.
Yeah.
What are some of the, like your favorite goals that people have, like that you have worked on with people, I guess?
Yeah. So one of my clients, the one actually from Brazil, I don't think it's like officially launched yet, so I won't give any details. But when we first started working together, she was really unhappy in her job. She's also a lawyer by trade. And so we worked together and she got a new job, which was like a huge promotion, super exciting. And like, she was super happy. And then on the side, she had been working on this company with her sister. And she actually texted me probably a month ago now that she quit her full-time job and is like going all in on this company. And I remember when like her and her sister had first started discussing doing this, and like she had a lot of doubts, obviously, like anyone else would have. And just being able to see that like she quit her full-time job and like fully went into this passion of hers. So I'm really excited to hear more about that. I think they're probably in the works to launch like sometime later this year. So I'll let you know once that actually
Yeah,
goes
no, for
live.
sure.
And then also like clients that have been able to start an exercise routine or start like a mindset routine. People that have been able to like really form new habits and then have said like, I would not have been able to do this without you. So I have like a client right now who's restarting her meditation journey. She sent me this like crazy email about how like great it's been and how helpful like working with me has been so far. We've worked together for one session so far and have just been like emailing a lot back and forth because I offer for my clients that I do like a 12-week package with, I offer like one-on-one texting or emailing with them as well. And so like she's been having like so many positive changes and like so many great things happening. And we've been like staying very much in contact over email and text so I can keep up with everything that she's doing. And I had one other client that just finished with me a couple of weeks ago and she like full on 180 shift from where we first started. Like she did not know how to take care of herself and really just wanted to like start small and have some attainable goals that weren't going to feel like super unachievable. And I think we're really able to do that. And I've definitely seen a lot of more positive mindset shifts as well.
I think it goes back to like all of these girls, like they were just willing to start. They were willing to invest in themselves.
Yeah.
And I love that like the first client, the one in Brazil, like you've been working with her for so long, or that the other girl texts you like the small wins in between. I think it's important for them that they have you, they have someone in their corner. And, you know, it's hard to find those people. And also it's important to recognize that sometimes the people that are going to be that for you are not necessarily your friends.
Yeah.
Like they could be someone that you have to invest in, like your therapist or a coach or something like that. So speaking of investment, how did you price yourself? How did you build these packages? Like, how do you know how to make this an actual business that's viable?
Yeah, of course. I think honestly, from the coaching program that I had done, they definitely gave a lot of like tips and tricks. And some people had already had their own businesses before they started the program, and some people were kind of like myself and were just starting out. And I think being able to talk like one on one with people that are also starting a business or had started a business and kind of had already done some of like the research on what has worked for them and what hasn't. Um, but I think also like with it, like people are willing to invest in a lot of things that don't better themselves, which is so crazy to me because like we'll spend so much time and so much money and energy. And like when I talk about investment, I'm not just talking about like the financial component. Like I do not work with people that are not willing to
Energy,
give
time.
their 110%. Like if you're going to come to me and
Yeah.
show up 10 minutes late to every meeting or not do any of the exercises I recommend doing, I'm not going to like force someone to do it, but I recommend doing, then like I don't want to work with those people that are also not going to show up for themselves. So really trying to put
100%.
into place that like, yes, it's a financial investment, but it's also a time and energy commitment. And if you're like in the place that you want to start bettering yourself and like growing, then I think it's worth it. And I offer like for people that I work with, I offer payment plans. Like I have people that pay in full and then I have people that pay in like 2, 3, 4 installments. And like I'm pretty flexible with people. Like I know what it's like to like live in New York or live somewhere that's expensive. And I don't know, I mean, instead of maybe like going out for one really expensive meal once a week or once a month or whatever it is, like use that to better yourself. Yeah, use that to better yourself so that in the long run you were able to say, I was able to do XYZ, and that was putting the time, money, and energy and bettering myself and not just like going out to dinner and buying a ton of drinks or whatever it may be. Like obviously there's a balance, but I think like really being able to make those small micro changes is really helpful.
Yeah. It's everything in moderation. And the key thing is starting, like being willing to go for it and to just start. You have to want it. No one can want it for you.
Exactly.
And having the support system. And so I love that you have that community built in as well. How do you like to close out, kind of going back to like earlier when I asked like how do you not let other people's problems affect you, or how do you now, like if you're going through the same issue, like not let the advice you gave that person be the same advice you give yourself? How do you balance both the consulting coaching job and business versus and your fintech job, but also just being a 20 something girl in New York
Yeah.
who has a life. Like, how do you, like, give me your routines? Like, what are some of like your habits and like non-negotiables that you have to do every day or every week to really allow you to live the life that you're living now?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think most days during the week at least, I'll wake up between 5 to 6. And I have been very much in like a going to a workout class mode versus like this time last year, I was doing my own little strength training thing. So I'll wake up. I normally will do like my 5 minute gratitude journal, drink some water. I have like this massive water bottle that
I
all
have
my
it too.
coworkers, they all make fun of me. My company is also based out of the UK,
Same.
and a lot of them think that this
They
size
don't
water
get it.
bottle is insane. So I drink a lot of water. And then I normally go to a workout class first thing in the morning, which I always get comments from people like, oh my God, how do you wake up so early? And I don't know, I just kind of do it. Like the other day, I had decided to do a Peloton class in my apartment. And I remember waking up and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I put like on my, I use like I have it on my phone too, but I have like a little like notes that I just like handwrite like for my day. So when I wake up in the morning, I'm not like, oh my God, I have to do all these things. It's already set out. So like I can't be freaking
I do
out
that too.
about what I'm doing later in the day until I complete all the
I
other
know.
things. And so
Yeah.
like that kind of sets me up for success. I am not a evening workout person. I need to like start my day doing that. It puts me in the best headspace and makes me just like really focus in on like me. And so I'll normally go to a class in the morning or do some sort of movement. And then I'll come home and make like breakfast and have a coffee. And then I'll go into the office. And then I normally see clients either on Sundays or I'll do it either on Fridays or Mondays, the days that I'm working from home on my lunch break or after work. I also, because I'm in fintech and also really into like health and wellness, I normally will go to a lot of events in the city. So I'll try and find a balance because I don't like to be doing something every single night because it's exhausting. So
Yeah.
I normally will have like one night that I do something like alone. So last night it was just sitting on the couch. I was supposed to go to an event and it was just a little too much for me. I just like really needed to just like sit and veg on the couch. I don't really watch TV, which is probably a hot take. I'll watch TV like every once in a while. And like I love a good movie here and
I
there, but
I'm the same. Honestly, like one, I think recognizing like you're not an evening workout person, you know that you're a morning workout, you have to get it first thing. I am not a morning person. So it's hard for me. I will
yeah,
sometimes do a workout class early in the morning, but that's not every week. Sometimes I switch it up. I'll try to do like if I do Pilates in the morning, I'll do yoga at night. Like and if I move 2 times a week, like that's a good week for me.
yeah,
I want to get more into walking. I'm also not a huge TV person. I was watching Bridgerton as I was blow drying my hair earlier. I
okay,
was like, I will binge every once in a while something, but like I won't really watch like I won't have a show that I'm watching like if it's coming out every season. I'll just wait until it's all out. I'll
oh,
binge
me
it.
too.
I'll wait until it's on Prime or Netflix or whatever. Then I watch a movie when everyone's already been talking about it and I'm super late to the party because I just don't care. Like I'd rather veg on the couch, like veg out on the couch, rot, and read a book. That's like
Yeah,
my time for myself. So I'm with you on that.
yeah, no, I would so rather do that. So like last night I was just honestly hanging out on the couch and then like I normally try and go to bed on the earlier side. So like depends. I think sometimes it's like 9:30 and sometimes it doesn't end up being till like 11. So just or later, it just depends on the day. So trying to get in like a better routine of like going to bed early.
Yeah. Being flexible with yourself. I
Yeah,
wish I could go to bed at 9, but because I'm not a morning person, I'm usually like up until like 11. If I
that
go to
makes
bed
sense.
before midnight, it's a good day. Um, but I'm not a night owl either. I'm like a middle of the day person. It's the weirdest thing.
Okay.
Oh, like I'm in my prime right now. I'm like, all right, now I can get all my shit done.
Yeah.
But I think it's important just to know yourself and be honest with yourself and be flexible. I think like that's like the takeaway of this episode. But if you could leave our audience with anything, what has been the best piece of advice that you have received from like the coaching program that you took or that you now take that you have given to your clients?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, like I think this is kind of something that I already said, but I would say like not being afraid to try or ask. Like I think and it's even funny like if I go out to dinner with someone and like I don't know, maybe like the meal comes out wrong or like I just know so many people that won't like speak up. So I think like just
Yeah,
like not being afraid to speak up or ask. Like you don't really get things if you don't ask. And I think a lot of times
100%.
like people are so afraid of what other people think of them. So I think that also is another one. Like, I don't really care. Like, I'll post pretty much whatever now on my page on Instagram. And I think a lot of people I know just like they're too afraid to do things like that because they're so afraid about what other people think of them. So I think just like live your life. Like, I don't know, whether it's like you're going into workout class or walking down the street or posting something on social media, like most of the time people are not thinking about you. And I think a lot of people get so caught up on like, what are they thinking about me? And sometimes we make up like these stories in our head, like they're saying XYZ. They're probably not. And I think a lot of times we just get like so caught up thinking these things, but like just being aware that like we can be ourselves and just do whatever we want. And like, I think the judgment of other people often like weighs on us and makes us fearful of doing things, and just being able just to like go for it.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Where can everyone find you and work with you?
Yeah, so I have a website called LWIMethod.com. It stands for Life with Intention Method. And then I have a page on Instagram, LWI_method.
Where did you come up with that name? Last question.
Yeah, I remember like thinking of a lot of different words that like had meaning to me. And I think the word intention had a lot of meaning to me. Just like understanding why you're doing what you're doing. And I think it kind of goes into all aspects of my life. And I really liked how like life with intention sounded, and really just like putting intention behind what you're doing and living your life like with intention. So that's kind of just like how I came to the name.
Yeah, that's been my word for the year for the last 2 years. Just intention. Like,
I love that.
Live with intention. Be intentional about things. So yeah. I love that too. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for listening. And I will talk to you all next week.